Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm your host, Sarah.
And this week on the show, we are back talking about Andor yet again, because you couldn't keep us away, Mr. Tony Gilroy. You just couldn't. This week, we are power ranking Season 2, every episode. It's going to be a wild time, Sarah.
This episode came about because Brad was like, I still really want to talk about Andor. I want to power rank Season 2 because I had a good time power ranking Season 1. And I said, okay. And now we're here.
Now we're here.
So,
yeah.
Even though we just shared our thoughts on the episodes over the past 4 weeks, we are Billy Mazing, but wait, there's more. And saying all of those opinions again, but now we're going to rank them.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time you referenced Billy Mays while talking about Andor Season 2 this year, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are here because wait, there's more. We love Andor. We love talking about Andor. All spoilers are on the table for the entire series, Season 2, obviously. So we'll be talking through our episodes from number 12 all the way down to number 1. But this is like a best to the best ranking. This isn't a worst to best ranking. This is just like good Andor to like even gooder Andor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's all a little bit unserious because
Totally.
my rankings are like, well, this had one scene that I really liked, a little bit more than the other scene that I really liked. So yeah, I feel a little bit bad about doing this so soon after the season aired, but Brad was adamant that we record an episode. So.
I just love the show. But yeah, the points don't matter, and we're just having fun. Speaking of having fun,
yeah,
we had quite a weekend, Sarah.
Oh yeah.
We won't dive too much into this because we will have more on our Patreon coming soon, but we had the opportunity to go to Lucasfilm this weekend in San Francisco, and we went to a fan screening of the Andor series finale, episode 12, and immediately afterwards watched Rogue One with like a theater full of 120 people. We had some other friends there that were in attendance. I had a great time.
Yeah.
We had a great time. We had a weekend just kind of running around San Francisco, Ubering and eating to our heart's desire. You got your cold udon.
I accidentally got gluten in your Coke. I'm so sorry about that. Just want to say that really publicly. I was like,
Yeah.
Hey, would you be willing to come to this restaurant that you can't eat at? And he was so graciously like, yeah. And then he ordered a Coke, and then a bit of tempura fell into the Coke. Really sad stuff. Really sad stuff. I feel publicly very bad about that. Okay. But yes, the weekend. It was really, really cool to go to Lucasfilm. This was our first time going there. This was my first time in San Francisco at all, and it was really cool. The Yoda fountain is real, and it's just as legendary as you see it in photos, honestly. So that was really cool.
And there's a 3PO in the window waving to the Yoda fountain.
It's a little bit of a jump scare, but it's kind of iconic.
He lives in perpetual agony, just standing there at all times, never moving.
He's like looking at the grass. The grass is always greener on the other side, sort of a deal. But yeah, the screening was so cool. This was my first watch into from Andor into Rogue One, my first rewatch of Rogue One in a little while. So wow, it really does change how that movie feels a little bit, which is so interesting. And it was really fun. And also, man, let me tell you, that Lucasfilm screening little theater, that is the crispest I have ever heard the Rogue One dialogue in my life. Probably as good as it's gonna get. So that was nice.
yeah. It was also just really cool to watch Andor on the big screen again, because we started this journey in the El Capitan watching season 1 at the premiere of the first 3 episodes, and then we kind of bookended our experience on Andor with this screening. So very, very cool. Huge thanks to Lucasfilm for making that happen. But we posted some photos on our socials, which you should go check those out. A lot of fun things in the Lucasfilm lobby that we took photos of, including the K2 statue, which I love. That being said, we will have more on our trip to San Francisco on our Patreon at patreon.com/Friends of the Force. So go check that out. We'll be doing a full kind of Friends of the Force fireside chat special where we just yap a lot. about all the great food, all the great friends, and all the great memories.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what Sarah talks about in her sleep. Spoiler alert, it's just reciting the one way out speech from season 1 over and over. So more later. Stay tuned.
Why are you putting me on blast for something that's not even real? I just, that's like the second time you've brought that specific thing up. And I am 100% sure that that's not true facts.
I mean, how would you know though?
I think you're making up falsehoods.
No, but you literally can't know because you're asleep. I'm the one that's awake.
Right.
As Marva said, you were sleeping, but I was awake because I had Ferrex.
Oh boy.
And you were sharing your dreams with ghosts. Let me tell you.
Sometimes I wonder, why am I friends with him?
Whoa. Well, you're friends with me because just love a good power ranking, which is what we're about to do.
I guess. I don't know if I do, but we're here.
We're here. We're going full throttle. Episodes 1 through 12 are on the table. Slim pickings. And by slim pickings, I mean I could take like 24, 36 episodes of Andor. Give us more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of felt like a dig to Andor.
No.
Okay.
I'm just still thinking about the 5-season plan. I could take I could take all the seasons.
I ponder it every once in a while. It's okay. What is your number 12? Because I don't want to start because that like puts a lot of pressure on me and then I feel really bad about my choice. So I'm going to do that to you instead. And since I've already asked, you have to.
My number 12 is the first episode, 1 year later. Couple highlights in this episode, though. The Malthian Divide, I thought was just a great scene, and the return of Ben Mendelsohn, getting him being super fruity, as he's referred to himself throughout the season. He's very fruity.
He has. He's called his portrayal of Orson Krennic super fruity.
Fruity, yes. He has used the word fruity, and I love that.
That's funny. That I have so many thoughts about that.
I mean, the way he like contorts his whole body and like, you know, puts his hands on the table and like leans down and like talks to everybody. He's just being a total diva.
I mean, we know the diva that is Orson Krennic. It's real. It's always been real. But I'm glad he knows he's playing him as a diva. That's funny.
You know, he really said, if I'm coming back to Andor, I'm putting my whole Ben Mendelsohn into it. I'm giving it my all, my 110%.
Okay. That's valid. I mean, he gets paid for it. I hope he would put his 110% into it.
He's just not about that paycheck life, Sarah. He's about the performance.
Right.
He's about the love of the craft.
Right, love of the craft. And also money. Yes. Okay. So I ranked episode 1 a little bit higher at number 10, but we'll take the opportunity to talk about it here. Because what I really like about episode 1 and why I ranked it just slightly higher is that first speech to Naya, or when he's having that conversation with Naya and he says, "You're coming home to yourself." That whole kind of setup and reestablishment of who he is in this moment, I think is so great. And then I think also the Malthian Divide is absolutely huge. As a scene, I think it is a great way to do exposition on the Gormans and get us to care right away while also putting the pieces in place. Like from a writing point of view, like I think it's really smart. Also, the historical parallels to like the Wannsee conference are also really strong. So totally, I feel like that's a great kind of strong historical reference, first of many that we see throughout this season. So that's why I ranked this one a little bit higher than 12. But I agree that like the start of this season is on the lower point of the season just because it ramps up so much. So that being said, my number 12 is actually number 2, Sigrona Tima.
Oh.
Yeah, so I ranked 1 a little bit higher because of a couple of scenes that are really pivotal. And then Sigrona Tima is number 2 or number 12 for me because it sits in the middle a little bit. We get some good scenes on Chandrila, and we also get some interesting stuff happening on Mina Rao. But I'm just not the Maya Pay Brigade's biggest fan. I'm really not. So when I was thinking of these episodes, they are ranked a little bit lower because I am a little bit of a Maya Pay Brigade hater. Just a little bit.
But Sarah, it teaches Cassian the lesson about the need for strong leadership.
Listen, I understand and I even agree. But they're just not my favorite to hang out with. So I think that because of that, it's a little bit of a detractor for me. But I really do love also like the Cyril and Dedra stuff we get. And like Chandrila is amazing. So I'm glad it's there. But that's why this one's ranked a little lower. Some of the other ones have more factors that hit.
By the way, did you know Tony Gilroy, I believe his son and like his nephew is in the Maya Pay Brigade? Did you know this?
So are you saying that like when I insult the Maya Pay Brigade, I'm personally insulting Tony Gilroy? Is that what you're attempting to say here?
I mean, I'm not attempting to say it, but you know, one could, through the law of transitive properties, could assume, you know, if A to B, B to C, A to C, you know, I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying. So think about Tony and his family when you're.
I think you're trying to smear my reputation right now. Start rumors.
I actually had episode 2 at number 10 for me.
Oh,
so
we did a little
switcheroo. Yeah, a little flippy floppity. I think for me, one of the highlights for this episode, speaking of Maya Pay, I did love the Roski rules.
Oh, yeah.
Rock, paper,
scissors.
Yeah.
You know.
And I just love the fact that, you know, they're so kind of tied up in their own world that they just completely miss Cassian escaping. I wonder on future watches how I will continue to feel about the Maya Pay Brigade, but they are pretty silly.
They are quite.
This is also the first episode where we get the domesticated freaks, aka Cyril and Dedra, which, you know, when we first saw that, we were like, yes, the sickos won.
Yes,
we did it.
Yeah. Big moment for the sickos, for sure.
Huge moment, chin grab and all, and just realizing that they live together. But I think one of the standouts for me in this episode is actually Perrin.
Definitely.
Which Perrin gives us like amazing speech about joy. And I think that honestly, like looking back at the season, that's like one of my favorite monologues from our characters. And I know we recently got some insight into a potential deleted scene with Perrin that got scrapped. I don't know if it ever got filmed, but the concept was that Mom was going to go back to Chandrila and Perrin was going to admit that he had been interrogated quite a bit over the years and that he was always on Mon's side. And if she had come to him, he would have stood by her and basically been super loyal. And so now it's almost hard to think about Perrin not in that way for me, because I think we see a glimpse of that in episode 2, that like maybe there is something within him that's still drawn to Mon and believes in her, and also makes his final moments in episode 12 a little more tragic. He's drinking because of what could have been and what he lost, you know, in the process of maybe not being too forthright with her. And I will miss Perrin, and I'm hoping we get to explore more of Mon and Perrin's relationship in the Reign of the Empire trilogy too. Like,
oh yeah,
a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I think that would be really, really cool, and especially considering that even though that scene doesn't exist, so it's not technically canon, like we do have a different opinion of him in this season than we do in season 1 for sure, especially with the Tay Kolma flip. Perrin also kind of flips the other way.
Yeah. So Sigrona Tima, we didn't talk a lot about Perrin, but had to bring that up here on this episode, and I just really loved his speech. So
that brings us to number 11. Now that we've talked about both 10 and 12, our number 11. So I actually, while you were talking, did a little switcheroo of my ranking. So
live
things are
on
in motion.
The pod.
Yeah, I know.
Always in motion. The future is. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Okay.
Damn.
So I'm going to say that my number 11 is episode 4. Ever been to Gorman? Now, is that same for you?
No,
you're making a face.
No, but I'm wondering. That is my number 9. So now I'm wondering what your
number 9.
Now I'm wondering what your number 9 is.
Wow.
Because did we do another switcheroo where we inverted our?
I don't think so. I think this episode will be ranked higher for you.
Okay.
Okay. So the reason I put this one at originally number 9 and now number 11, it's so hard. It's all so arbitrary. It's so silly. I hate doing this. It's painful.
This is the most Friends of the Force thing for us to do. We always joke about the top 10 lightsaber duels, and that here we are.
I know. Yeah, this is the second time we've done a ranking. It's painful. Why am I here? Okay. So actually what I love about this episode, there's a lot here. Like we get some solid Cyril content in his Gorman outfit. And we get to know a bit more about, you know, who the Gorman people are and also what Cyril's MO is, although it is confusing in this episode. I find it to be a bit difficult to figure out where he's falling, which I think is really interesting. I like also in this episode, the setup for Bix and Cassian is so good. And them kind of adjusting to the safe house and Bix's nightmares and her continuing to struggle as anyone would in the aftermath of what she's gone through over the past 2 years. And Cassian, you know, trying to be there for her, but maybe not knowing the exact right way. But there's some great Bix Cassian moments in here. So it's a great episode. It's a good episode. There's also a conversation between Senator Oren and Mothma. That's good. I don't know. It's at 11 because it has to be. Why do you do this to me?
I mean,
I'm going to change my mind in a week.
These could all be number one. In my opinion.
No, that's a lie. There's only one that's going to be number one.
Okay, these could all be tied for number 4, number 5, maybe. I think there are some clear, definitive number 1 through 4s that we'll overlap with. On the Bix and Cassian front, you know, them touching hands in this episode, I love that little glimpse into their lives on Ferrix and some of those traditions. And I really like and appreciate the authenticity of their relationship and the good and the bad, right? There are days that are some better than others when they're having dinner, and I think for the show to not gloss over the ways in which relationships are complex and love isn't always easy, you know. I think I appreciated
Certainly.
that.
Yep.
And then getting more Cyril, of course, on Gorman. To your point, I think a highlight for me was the Gorman front meeting.
Absolutely.
You know, I appreciated getting to know the Gormans a little bit more, so that, you know, we feel that emotional punch later on.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your number 11, Brad?
So my number 11 is episode 5.
Okay.
Which it feels so silly having this at 11 because we get one of Saw Gerrera's greatest moments, which is his Rhino-induced speech.
Oh God, he's so not okay. He's so
really
not okay.
No, but rebellion is not for the sane. I mean, that is just an all-timer line in Star Wars. That's just so great. This episode has a lot going for it with Cassian's visit, and we get Varian Sky doing his thing as a designer. There's a lot of really good stuff in here, and it's Cassian kind of seeing things firsthand in Gorman before he ultimately ends up back there as part of the massacre. And so it gives him a little bit emotional investment into these characters, these people, this place. It just hits a little bit harder later on. And but for me, the Saw Gerrera speech is the number one thing. And getting more Wilmot, of course, is always a joy.
Yeah, Will is great. I'm glad he became a much bigger player in this season because we don't get a ton of him in season 1. Because he's so much younger than the rest of our cast, even though he might not technically be that much younger than Cassian, but he definitely is. He brings a particular sense of youth to the show and a particular perspective. He's out here getting girlfriends. He so wants to live a normal life, but everything's kind of been taken from him. It's really interesting to have Will in the show.
Yeah, shout out to Muhammad Ben Amor, by the way. I know he posted a photo of him at a Rogue One screening.
He was okay. Do you want to feel old?
He is a literal child.
11. He was
He's
11.
a literal kid.
He was 11 in 2016.
That's wild.
Which made me feel old.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Yeah, it was. That's just the dream. Going to see Rogue One as an 11-year-old, and then you're in Andor 9 years later.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's doing career goals quite like him. Maybe we'll be in the sequel to Andor in 9 years.
Oh, there we go.
Who are you gonna play?
Who am I gonna play? I'm gonna be an awesome badass woman character with lots of depth, and I'm gonna be a rebellion girly.
Mm.
And I'm gonna have backstory.
I'm just gonna be a guy who has like a little stall somewhere, a little food stall.
You know what they've been mentioning in the books a lot lately are noodle shops. Maybe you own like a noodle cart.
That would be lore accurate for me because I do love pasta.
Yeah.
I would own my noodle cart on Hoth.
On Hoth.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking of your cold udon that you had in San Francisco. I'll be selling hot udon, like steaming hot udon. It is cold. The tauntauns smell bad. You need a little bit of hot udon in your life. You got to keep your hands warm while you're holding the bowl. Here you go, Luke Skywalker.
The logic there is really strong.
Yeah, it's like the fact pop of it all. Could Luke have taken down the AT-AT without his hot udon? Who knows? Who knows?
You're asking the real questions.
Yeah.
And in our conversation, I'm once again moving around my episodes. Because I'm thinking about udon now, so that means it has to change. I am going to put I have friends everywhere at number 9. Is that
Number
where you
9.
have it now? Or did you have it? Yeah. That is where you had it.
Or so that's your number 9.
What's your number 9? We're on 9 now.
Folks, we are actively changing our list. This is like cardinal sin of podcasting lists is to not change said lists during a podcast. And we have both done it.
We don't have an outline.
We have hit the quarter. We've hit the quarter mark here of the 12 episodes. Let's recap. Let's recap.
The people really need the recap.
My number 12 is episode 1. My number 11 is episode 5. My number 10 is episode 2. And my number 9 is episode 4, which we've talked about all of those episodes. What is your top 4 or your bottom 4 again?
So my number 12 is episode 2, Sigrun Tima. My number 11 is episode 4, Ever Been to Gorman. My number 10 is episode 1, 1 year later. And my number 9 is episode 5, I Have Friends Everywhere.
Incredible, impeccable planning because we switcherooed in the bottom 4. We did a little flippy floppy on both 4 and 5 and 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. We've covered 4 episodes. No notes.
No notes.
This is going really well.
Good work, team.
How about power ranking all of The Mandalorian next time?
I haven't seen all the episodes of The Mandalorian, so that would go really well for me.
I just love power ranking with my bestie. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I do. I find this chaotic and a little bit stressful.
You really have to live life on the edge. You know, they're out here fighting rebellions and you won't do a simple power ranking just for funsies.
Wow. I'm out here see, you understand that this is going to be on the internet forever. The listeners are going to have this ranking and then they're going to make opinions about us based on this ranking. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have thoughtful conversations on this podcast and it is like the antithesis of ranking. And then you decide you want to rank stuff, Brad.
See, the spirit of this, listener, before we go into our next 8 episodes here, is that we approach these rankings as just talking about the things we love from each of the episodes. And then there's no rhyme or reason to where they are on the list, except for some. There are some... See, Sarah's like, I'm not a fan of the ranking, but then she'll be like, episode redacted is but the best thing ever. You are inherently ranking.
Everybody, if you've listened to our recaps, you already know what I'm going to say.
You already know. You already know, listener.
Like, and it's like very obvious.
There was no hiding what was our number 1 for season 1 either, which everybody should go check out.
See, why are we doing this? If there's no hype, there's no buildup.
I don't know. There could be. What if? You know, it's like when I'm watching Rogue One. What if they don't go to Scarif?
No, they're going to Scarif this time. They're going to go to Scarif every time.
I know. I think I could stop it. What's your number 8, Sarah?
Okay. I'm switching things around again.
I knew it. My number 8 is episode 6.
That's great. I'm going to keep my number. I moved it. And now episode 8 or number 6. Number 6 is number 8 is episode 6.
So your number 8 is also episode 6.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. We're here. What a festive evening, one might say.
It is now. Yeah. Okay. So the festive evening we're having is revenge against people who torture you. A plus. A plus. Love
A
that.
plus plus, yeah.
The festive evening we're having is also lesbians reuniting and then one of them subsequently dying shortly thereafter. That's less festive. But the reuniting of Vel and Cinta and smooching is excellent. I really can't complain.
Very festive.
Go girlies. Go girlies. I support every day of my life. Okay. But also this episode has the yin and yang, like Vel and Cinta, which is like such a good image.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think like the actual kind of weapons heist is not super, super exciting. But it is interesting, Vel's death and then or Cinta's death and how Vel reacts to all of that. Yeah, those are my biggest thoughts on it. Also, Mon Mothma's absolutely banging dress. So incredible.
Oh my
what
gosh.
an icon. What a legend. And the diva off, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree that the heist doesn't work as well for me as something like the Aldani raid, which granted we had 2 episodes of build up to Aldani, but I wish the Gorman heist had as much tension, and I wish I felt the stakes a little bit more, which maybe would have had me more invested in Cinta's death, but it kind of fell flat.
Well, honestly, I kind of think it wasn't supposed to be exciting in the sense that like it's not about what's happening. It's about them learning. And so that's where the intrigue lies, is like the lessons they learn from Cinta's death, which I do appreciate. But it's just like, I don't know. It's not the most exciting part of the episode itself. I think that the diva off is really exciting. I think that Clea's mission and trying to get the listening device out of the artifact is exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like our first glimpse into Clea's role for the season, like her even bigger role of how important she truly becomes. And I think this really demonstrates how she's running the show for her and Luthen.
Yeah.
More so than anything, because Luthen is starting to panic and slip, and she's like, okay, you can have your little moment of freaking out over this. I'm going to actually do something about it. Yeah, and then getting to watch Mon and Krennic interact, and just purely a joy. How nice to see Krennic free at the witness stand.
Right.
The line delivery.
I want the tea.
I could watch a crime drama, by the way, like a courtroom crime drama set in Star Wars. Would you watch that?
Yeah, of course I would.
Like, what's the legal system like in a galaxy far, far away?
It's a really good question, especially in the Empire, you know?
Didn't Charles Soule say something like that at one point, that he would like write a book or do something, or because he has a law background, so.
Well, if he wants to, I think he should. He would have a reader. It would be me. I'm not paying him the salary, but I would buy a copy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one book sold.
There you go.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just one lone candle that can ignite the stars.
Happy Rots-iversary. Happy Rots-iversary. It's Rots-iversary today.
It really is. Yeah.
Maybe we celebrate Rots by bringing up the Rots novelization. But if you call that, you know, an announcement of an anniversary, I could tell you that wasn't a good transition. Brad's laughing at me, but I'm really trying here. I'm about to tell you that my number 7 is number 7.
My number 7 is also number 7.
Look at the corporate synergy at the Friends of the Force Corporation. We are just absolutely killing it. I gotta tell you, this was not originally my number 7. But then I've been clicking on the episodes as we've been talking about them and just kind of letting them play. And then I remembered the Force Healer, and I said, well, that was really good and really important stuff. So maybe I have to. And then we also get the Rebellions Are Built on Hope moment, and like the setup to Gorman is not nearly as exciting as Gorman itself or the aftermath, but this episode I think is solid. The Force Healer stuff I think is super important for Rogue One. We do get shirtless Diego Luna, no complaints there.
Twice.
And
it's happened twice in the show. Wait, Diego Luna was shirtless in episode 7, which you were saying announcement. You were joking because announcement is season 1, episode 7, right? That's the title. announcement.
Oh, it is. And this one's, I actually wrote announcement down, so that's my bad. It's actually messenger, which is really not all that different from announcement, if we're being really honest.
But I was gonna say Diego Luna was also shirtless in that episode too.
Hold on. I literally have Disney Plus open and I'm looking at all of the episode name titles. Did I really just like pull announcement out of my brain and write it down for episode 7 instead of messenger, even though I literally am looking at the word messenger? Like, that's unhinged. Like, that is so, I'm so season 1 episode 7 pilled. Like, announcement is in my mind all the time.
I mean, a messenger does make an announcement.
Exactly. I mean, I was actually, my brain was just, I was just too many brain cells. And not everybody could understand what I was going for there, but it's strong. It's impressive. The announcement messenger connections where everything starts to come together. Thank you. Amen.
Yeah, no, episode 7 is great. And I always had wondered, would the Force get introduced into the series? And I think it was used really effectively here to introduce the idea of destiny into Cassian's journey. That's clearly like the Force has other things in mind for him, and not that he can't make his own choices, but the Force is in every living being. It doesn't matter how many midichlorians you have, doesn't matter how strong you are in the Force. Like, the Force is kind of nudging people. They are still ultimately their destiny is within their control, right? Like, you either make a good choice or you make a bad choice. It was kind of cool to put a little bit of foreshadowing in Cassian's journey, and also create the sense that he is meant for bigger and better things than he is maybe willing to admit or to take responsibility of. And that's just sort of classic hero's journey, refusal of the call. No, I'm not important. I don't want to do it, which I thought was fun to toy around with, especially before he goes to Gorman to basically only really do one thing, which is kill Daedra. But then he ends up getting involved in the massacre, and then his role becomes much, much bigger as a result of that,
Yeah. The way that it all kind of pieces together is incredible and sad and important.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, what is your number 6?
All right. My number 6 is an episode that I low-key kind of hate. Because it is one I could, I know I'm sounding dramatic here, but it's one I could never watch again and be okay. Because it emotionally was so difficult. Which is exactly what it was setting out to do. And it was incredibly effective in doing that. But it's hard. It's a hard episode. And that is episode 3, Harvest.
That is also my number 6.
Oh, the synergy machine is really synergying now. I think we're going to continue to probably synergy a little bit, but maybe not. Anyway, the little blurb for Harvest is time is running out for everyone, which is nice. What a nice little thing to say. But this is the wedding of Leda and Stecken. It is the sexual assault of Bix, and it is Mon Mothma losing everything. And all 3 of those things are very difficult, and they are really effectively put together over yet another Nymos mix. Nymos, the most important song in the entire galaxy at this point in time. You could consider it a little bit like recession pop, maybe, Think about those iconic 2008, 2009 songs that we're still playing in the club. Like, this episode is really difficult, and I don't necessarily want to watch it again, but I also think it is incredibly good, and it's incredibly effective. Everybody gives outstanding performances, and that last shot of Mon losing it and then it cuts to black in the credits is absolutely diabolical. Everybody should be jailed. Thank you.
Did you actually hear that Tony was trying to release the Niamo stems?
I really hope he's able to. Like, I really hope he's able to.
Which stems, for folks who don't know, are essentially like the tracks that DJs can use to create their own remixes. So I hope that maybe we're entering this era, which every bar, every place, every wedding, they all have just their own Niamos remix, and maybe we can reclaim it from the sad image of Brasso's dead body. And maybe overlay it with some joyous things in life, in our own life, Yeah, this was a very tough episode. I had it at number 6. Not, you say you hate it, which, like, I know you say that jokingly, but you also mean it because it is so heavy, but also it's so well made, and the fact that it makes you feel the way it does. is a testament to the material it was handling, the depth of character it was handling. There's a lot happening here, a lot of people getting hurt along the way. It's not one I will revisit that much either. Not for lack
Yeah.
of quality, but it probably makes me feel the most devastated of anything in the season.
Yep, 100%. So I'm going to ask you what your number 5 is, and then it's going to inform what my number 5 is.
My number 5 is episode 11,
Okay.
which is titled Who Else Knows? I think what this episode does the best is continuing the forward momentum and the intensity and the sense of urgency and the sense of a ticking clock where every second, every minute matters. This is life or death. This is not just an easy walk away from the hospital. We did it. Yay, I can leave Coruscant. This is no, if I do something wrong, if I stumble even a little bit, the jig is up. And they do that so effectively with the editing, and I don't know, it's just like really good episode, and really just builds up to that cliffhanger of them walking through the hallway with their blasters, and you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, which is diabolical, actually, because I forgot it ended there
Yeah.
initially. And then so we went back and I was like, oh. So actually, like when we were in San Francisco, when we started on episode 12, I was like, wait a second. I need the other half of this story. Like I need 11 to kind of inform where we are here because, wow, 12 moves so fast. Just as a standalone. Like 11 and 12 feel a little bit fuller, but like, whoa. They're both really good. So I'm going to switcheroo just to make things a little easier here. And I've just been thinking about it. I'll also put Who Else Knows at number 11. And the reason I had it like slightly higher about a minute and a half ago was because of the Krennic and Dedra scene, which is just so juicy. So juicy. So diva again. Like diva is diva-ing. He's so good. But like the finger on the head is insane.
Improvised too.
And which is crazy. And just kind of seeing how that all falls apart for Dedra is so great. Like everything that she's worked for and everything that she's felt like she's had to scrap together because of who she is in the Empire and at the ISB gets thrown in her face. And it's a sad moment for her, but it's also like a very gratifying moment as an audience member because you're like, haha, Krennic, oh my gosh. And then you're also like, this terrible person is getting terrible things, you know, because they were terrible. So, but there's a sadness in that too, but like, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's really fun, speaking of Daedra and Krennic, just to see the sense of panic that starts to ripple through the ISB in this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts a little bit in episode 10, but it really ramps up here because they finally find Axis. Now Axis is dead. Daedra might be a rebel spy, according to Krennic, and everything is just falling apart. One thing I didn't initially catch in my first watch was Krennic telling Partagaz, "I can't protect you, Leo."
Yeah, that was a first name basis situation there.
And I love that.
Also, it's spelled Lio,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
And I love that because it's such a tiny thing, but it implies such a shared history between Partagaz and Krennic. And it's like, what have they both gone through? Did they both go to the same Imperial Academy? Were they roommates? You know, like what was their situation? But it also shows, despite that personal history, like Krennic is sort of willing to burn Partagaz here and kind of cut the loose end if he messes up. Like I can't protect you, no matter what our history is, no matter how long we've known each other. If you misstep, there's nothing I can do.
I also think that that's like him taking advantage of the situation, which is then really funny when Tarkin then takes advantage of the situation to like get a leg up on Krennic, like in Rogue One. So there's this sense of like, it's a dog eat dog sort of situation. Like there's no saving each other. There's no looking out for each other. If there's an opportunity to eclipse you, I will eclipse you. And it also like, you know, foreshadows what Partagaz does in episode 12, which is, you know, take a permanent way out instead of face the consequences head on.
I love Star Wars Explained posting an image of like all the Imperials kind of lined up. And I think the quote was like how Qui-Gon said, "There's always a bigger fish."
Yeah.
And that's just so on display this season, you know, like Cyril the Grunt, and then there's Daedra, and then there's Partagaz, and then Krennic, and then Tarkin, and then Vader. You know, it's just slowly, all these guys start to drop like flies. And that is like the epitome of the dysfunction of the Empire, is because of what you're saying. Everybody's stepping over each other. Nobody's working together. And that's sort of the whole lesson of the season, is like you can't do that in a rebellion. You have to work together. I have friends everywhere. The Empire doesn't make friends. And so that's the key difference between the Empire and the Rebellion. And so this episode's so good. So good.
Yeah, it is.
What is your number 4 now that we're here?
12. Jedha Kyber Urso.
That is also my number 4. Oh my God.
Great. I originally had 11 and 12 flipped, but then, you know, there's a real punchiness to 12 because of the fact that it leads right into Rogue One. Cassian's slow walk. Let me mention what I did not mention on our podcast. Okay. Admiral Raddus. Okay.
I was going to say, this is your moment. This is why we do the retro.
Admiral Raddus. I have been a Raddus stan since day one. Why? I do not know. I love him. Okay? I do not know. I do not know why. It is just who I am. I saw Raddus and I was like, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's so brave. He's so cool. And he goes, who's Clea? Which is hilarious.
Who's Clea?
Objectively really funny. But like, he roots for Rogue One in Rogue One, and he's awesome. I love him. And so the story here is Brad, I was like, okay, we were talking to each other and I was like, oh my God, Admiral Raddus. He's like, wait. And then Admiral Raddus was on screen and I was like, yes. This is the greatest day of my life. Admiral Raddus returns on his ship, the Profundity. Okay, thank you. I just really love Raddus, but this whole episode's really good. Seeing where everybody ends, the Partagaz moment like sticks in my mind. Nemec's manifesto returns and is the message, or one of the messages that Cassian is sharing with the galaxy. And I think that this is a really, really powerful ending for this show. And we get to see like a particular hopefulness for Clea, which I really, really love so very much. And we get to see people live on. And what a gratifying feeling, you know, what a good feeling that gives. Also Bix, I hope she lives a long and happy life. Like, I just want good things for her. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about this episode, is it really cemented this as a story of survival. And I know we said it on our pod, but the fact that it wasn't this over-the-top explosive finale with a lot of action sequences. I mean, there was some of that right in the beginning, but the core of this episode, and most of this episode, is spent just characters talking.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate when big IPs do that. It's like how kind of Loki season 1 had the finale just be Loki and Sylvie and the He Who Remains just talking in a room for like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah,
that's the kind of shit I eat up. I want to see how characters relate to one another.
Mm-hmm.
I walked away feeling like everybody there except for Cassian was in a better place than when they started at the beginning of the season. At the end of that, at that first arc.
Or like if they weren't emotionally quite there yet, like they were going to get better. Like things were going to improve for them.
Yeah.
From
and
here too.
I will always think of Clea's Mona Lisa smile. That is one of my favorite shots of the show.
It's so impactful. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. I do want to shout out Raddus too, by the way. You were so excited when we were watching Rogue. Not only when we watched episode 12.
So excited.
Which I love when he's like, if Merrick was here, he would shoot them down, you know, and sad we didn't get Merrick, but that's okay. But you were also excited when he popped up in Rogue One. When we were watching,
I really was. Caitlin over at Sky Talkers is also a Raddus fan. And at the screening, she was like seated pretty much in front of me, and we were both like, "Yee!" when Raddus was on screen, like literally like shaking our arms, like yes. Raddus is really the best. I don't know what to say. Like, seeing Raddus makes my life better. Maybe I should watch Rogue One more often. Like, I don't know why I love Raddus, but I just find him so delightful.
Who would win in a rap battle? Admiral Akbar or Admiral Raddus?
Well, I know who I'm rooting for, and it's Admiral Raddus. Like Akbar, like he's fine, but like Admiral Raddus is my guy. So like I've got a home team to root for. So that's my answer.
I think I would root for Raddus because they don't get the Death Star plans without him.
Exactly. He's really important.
Akbar might have the edge just because of like it's the trap. It's a trap.
Yeah. Sure, but like I don't
because
think I agree.
He could say it's
but, like,
a wrap.
Raddus has got, but he goes, "Who's Clea?" I just have to root for my guy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
Rogue
you.
One, may the Force be with you. That's he's
got the key line in Rogue One. That's like the wow.
That's one of the most devastating lines.
Also, did you know? Here's my fun fact of the day. I love carrying this fun fact around, and whenever it comes out of my brain, it is just a delightful time. Did you know that the Mon Calamari ships are actually kept at a very humid climate? So there's a lot of kind of moisture in the air, so it's easier for the Mon Calamari to breathe.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
That is, I'm not like a trivia queen, you know, like I'm not somebody who has all of the really, really niche details, but I think I read that like either in like the Rogue One visual dictionary sort of thing book or the Last Jedi one. And it stuck with me. I've got it in my brain. But yeah, and then I think about it and then I go, well, is that, you know, sometimes there are humans on the Mon Calamari ships. Are they like sweating up a storm because they're in a much more humid climate? I also really like that Raddus's chair swings around.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And Akbar's does that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff. I hope the rebellion isn't keeping their bread supply on these ships though, because
right.
Seems like a mold situation could happen. You never cease to amaze me with the details. You're like, I'm not a details girly. And then yet you're like, how did you not know about Sinar, the manufacturing plant?
But like, how did you not know about Sinar?
And then you're like, how did you, the Mon Calamari, let me give you the 10-hour essay of Mon Calamari ships.
No, like I know that's something I don't know, but like, how did you not know about Sinar? Like, I don't know. Do I read these ancillary books and then just pick up like the most random detail and be like, yeah, that's the most canon thing to ever canon?
I think that's exactly how you operate as a Star Wars fan. I know you. I know you. You're like not a details girly unless there's a specific detail that you are going to hyperfix on and make your entire personality like the Kazrat
right.
device.
I do love the Kazrat device. I have made that my online identity to a certain degree. It's
my God.
No, you know what? The problem is I become a sponge in my hobbies, but only for the things that I kind of care about. Like there are so many details that I like honestly just don't give a single shit about. I'm sorry to those details, but like I could not be bothered. But I guess I really cared about Cyanogenous fleet systems and also the humidity on Mon Calamari ships. And I'm like almost certain I've been bringing that detail around in my brain for like almost a decade. Like there's a particular absurdity to that. Maybe I am a details person. Ask me like anything about K-pop.
We need like an Instagram reel series like Sarah's specifics or something, and you just really get into the weeds on some things that will go viral.
And then I'm always going to talk about institutes of higher learning and be like, the Institute for Quantitative Studies on Batabooey, blank, 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 blank.
Oh, here we go again, folks. She's done it. She fit it in.
My interest. See, well, and you're the one that brought up the Kazrat device, so that wasn't even me.
That's true. Okay, Sarah, we are in the end game. I need the end game. What?
That was really good. Thank you. That was a great one. 10 out of 10.
Oh, that was like kind of fun. That was like a little cathartic to say. I think I'm gonna have a few more in me. What is your number 3?
Okay, so here's what we might split. Like I think our number 1 is the same, but like our numbers 2 and 3 flipped, and that's the question of the day. We'll find out very soon.
Oh,
my number 3 is Episode 8, Who Are You?
Okay, we did a little flipperoo-ski. We did a little flipperoo, yeah.
That's because Episode 10, the more I think about it, it's also there's like a slight recency bias, but like the more I think about it, the stronger as an episode it gets. I love Clea so much. I love women. So that's where that comes from. Anyway, Episode 8, Who Are You? This is the breaking down of everything Cyril has ever known. It is the Gorman Massacre. I think that this is one of the most powerful and important pieces of television that, you know, I've seen recently. I think that the parallels to both the past and the present in episode 8 are incredibly clear, and powerful and devastating. I think that, you know, the framing of the Gorman Massacre with the news is really powerful as well. I think that for me, this episode ranks under 9 and 10 just because those are slightly punchier for my like personal interests in Star Wars. But I think the Cyril kind of losing everything, losing himself and maybe finding himself at the end, and then like losing himself again once Cassian says, "Who are you?" is just like incredibly compelling character work. And I think it says a lot about who Cyril was, how he was manipulated, and who he could have been if another person had guided him on a different path. Or, you know, or if he had changed his ways after season 1. So I think there's so much compelling stuff here. And of course, like the Gorman Massacre is absolutely devastating. It is hard to watch. It is incredibly powerful. It is, I mean, I have not a single bad thing to say about this episode of television. It's really incredible stuff.
Yeah, and I think you and I agree too. This is in the top 5 of probably the whole series. I agree. I had number 8, Who Are You, at number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought there's the emotions of the massacre. There's also just the technical achievement.
Right.
How big the Gorman set was and the ability to make it feel real because of that practical set, because of how much effort went into making this place feel real. And also just the slow buildup of everything,
Yeah.
right? There's not a lot of music in this episode. A lot of it is that diegetic music of the Gorman National Anthem, the chanting, you know, the galaxy is watching, we are the Gore, you know, the shuffling of the troopers coming in, marching down the stairs. There's just so much of that. It's entirely driven by the soundscape. And then when the
Right.
music does come in, you know, I think like when the K2 units are marching out, you know, and you really feel that sense of dread.
Right.
Yeah, and your point on this episode with the news and ending on propaganda being fed through the TV after we just actively watch a genocide happen, and we know that it was orchestrated by the Empire to happen. And so those two things sort of side by side, you know, the proximate impact of the thing versus the thing that can be fed to people in order to continue fear mongering, and that's the Empire's prerogative. How much fear can we create?
Yeah. Yeah. These top handful of episodes are just like, I think we could both talk about them. We were talking about this a week ago. We were like, yeah, man, was our 7, 8, 9 conversation good enough, or was it like complete? And I listened back to the episodes. I said, I think it was a complete conversation. And I think we could have had 6 other completely different, complete conversations about these episodes. There's so much to talk about, whether it be like the technical achievement or the acting or the historical references or the more present day references. There's just so much to say here. So top 3 is definitely the right spot for it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit now about episode 10, which I think we both agree is also top 3 spot for it to be, because it does this incredible thing 2 episodes before the finale of recontextualizing the entire show and recontextualizing Luthen, who we have had a particular opinion about this whole time. And also giving us this incredible insight into Clea. It's not an episode that includes Cassian. It is her show in this moment. And Elizabeth Delau is just like mind-bogglingly amazing in this episode and throughout this whole show. But just absolutely incredible. And we get her backstory. We understand who she is, and we understand their relationship to one another, which is one that is ultimately both loving and hating, and one that is complicated. But my God.
And portraying that in an hour.
In an hour.
Recontextualizing everything about them in 1 hour. Writing, baby. Scripts. Damn.
Words, dialogue.
But that's the thing too, is
acting.
not a lot of words are said in this episode.
Yeah.
A lot of it is Clea walking
flashbacks.
around. And the fact that when we do get those words, they mean so much. And they tell us so much about this relationship. Like, there's not a lot there that's said, but like a lot that's implied.
Yeah.
And that's the show kind of trusting its audience to also infer some of those things.
Right. It's just like really, really incredible stuff. I want to talk about Clea all the time. This rebellion is not Luthen's. It's Clea's. Luthen would have never been, this man so hell-bent on pushing things forward for the rebellion if he didn't have Clea, who hadn't have had this drive to her after she watched, her whole family be murdered by Luthen and his people. Like, this rebellion is hers. And also, when Luthen starts to fall apart, she is the one picking up the pieces and putting him back together. It is her at every corner. She is so committed to her mission and so committed to him. It's hard. It's so heartbreaking. It makes the end of episode 10 so heartbreaking. And I just don't know what to say. Like, I really have nothing but the highest praises for this episode. I love Clea so much. I want more stories about her. I hope, kind of a little bit like Jin, like stories get written about her and people know her name among the rebellion. She's such an important character. And for this really important character, like, again, for not to be like an older white guy, but like a younger woman, who is at the heart of this rebellious push. She is one of many, but a really important factor in it all. Okay, that's it. I got to stop yapping. I'm getting down off the step stool. I will get back on it to talk about 9, but like, episode 10.
And
Episode 10.
It's incredible too that this is Elizabeth Delau's first acting gig. That's a pretty incredible booking. I think this absolutely puts her on the radar for some
first
stuff.
Gig out of school, crazy. She's first professional. I don't know. She's amazing.
I'd hate to say like give her own series, her Star Wars series, because I also don't want her to just be locked down to Star Wars for like the next 2 years. I think she is bound for some incredible things. I saw her today say she'd love to play Lara Croft in like Tomb Raider. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do that. I'm down. I want to see wherever her career goes. I will watch anything and everything that she's in going forward. I hope she does some more TV, because I think that's, that just means more of her in general than a movie. But she should also book some good gigs. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I also want to mention too, just like the Fade to Black, only one that we get of the series with Luthen. I think just such a great visual choice to really like let that moment sit with us for as long as possible, rather than a cut to black. So just so many like little effective things in this episode. It truly is a masterpiece.
Definitely.
But, so that was your number 2. That was my number 3. And now our number 1, which we collectively,
surprise.
as soon as we saw it, we were like, that is the best episode of Andor potentially ever, is episode 9, Welcome to the Rebellion.
Surprise, surprise. What do I need to say? Nothing at all. It speaks for itself. Mon's speech. Tear the shit out of this place. The escape from the Senate. Everything about this episode
Past,
is what
present,
I
sweet.
want. Past, present, sweet.
It literally has everything.
This episode is so good. It's good. It's important. Mon being so bold as to essentially burn her reputation, and her safety in the Senate, and to stand up for what's right and call out who is exactly causing the harm, is incredible. And it's such a thrilling episode. Gosh.
I think the speech is just it's so timely.
Mm-hmm.
When information and truth is so scarce. It's so funny because they didn't know the results of the election when they wrote the show and when they filmed the show, and they didn't need to, because history does its thing. history repeats itself. All these beats that we're feeling now in our world have been beats of worlds past, and will probably, I hate to say it, be beats of worlds future.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the political outfall of Gorman, standing up for what's right and what you believe in, regardless of the repercussions, especially when you're in a position of privilege, right? Mon is sort of the epitome here of exerting or using her privilege to voice, to lend her voice to call out and condemn an atrocity, right? And so that's something that we have to try to actively do in our own life if we're in that kind of position, and we can call things out for what they are. I love that when we both first saw it, though, it was just like, yeah, that's the one. We
That's
just
it.
knew, you know?
Yeah. And then we sob at the end because big sleeves.
Oh my God, right. That happens also in this episode.
Yeah. And K2 comes back, which is there because it has to be there. But like big sleeves, devastating.
Yeah.
Devastating.
Even more devastating in hindsight, knowing that she's leaving because she's got Le Bébé Andor.
Le Bébé. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, that's 12 episodes.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. Do you want to do a quick recap here for the peeps?
Okay.
I'll do my 12 from
Okay.
12 to 1. So we got episode 1, 5, 2, 4, 6, 7, 3, 11, 12, 10, 8, and 9 for myself.
Okay. And then bottom to top, I have 2, 4, 1, 6, 5, 7, 3, 11, 12, 8, 10, 9.
I saw you hesitating there a couple times. I was like, that's the mid-episode changes coming to bite Sarah in right at the end. I knew that was going to be
it's because I wrote a list, and then I changed my list, and then I wrote the numbers of my ranking next to the numbers of the episode, and then they switched around. There were it was a jumble. It's a jumble on my piece of paper.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your strength of spirit
for getting it right.
Yeah.
For working hard to get it right.
You've provided me clarity, and I haven't felt that in quite some time. Thank you for that
That's
gift.
Great. Yep, you're welcome. Thanks, Tony Gilroy.
Yeah, let's thank Tony. Thanks, you, Tony, for all the great work that you've done over the years.
And absolutely everybody else who worked on these episodes. You're the bomb.com. The genuine best.
Also, shout out to Gareth Edwards for casting Diego Luna as Cassian Andor.
Huge W, actually.
Hugest of the W's.
Absolutely
Gareth
gigantic.
Edwards. Yeah.
We have some thanks to Gareth for sure.
Yeah.
I also was still, many years later, desire to know what this movie looked like before it looked like the Rogue One that we saw on screen. All that footage that is in the trailers. I want to know.
I have so many questions. I will sign whatever NDAs you need me to sign. I just want to see the Gareth Edwards cut. I want to see them running on the beach.
I just out of pure curiosity, there's something really interesting about like knowing that it was something different at a point in time, and like having like these few little bits of evidence that was true, but then loving the finished product so much that like whatever it was, like clearly they made the right choices, but I'm so curious to know what it was before it was the Rogue One that we saw. Just like a creative process sort of thing. Tony Gilroy, what is your job when your name is not on the credits? Like, I'm so like, what does he do? Like, he goes in with a red pen, I imagine. It's so interesting though.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I saw, I don't know which interview it was from, but Tony was talking about how Kathy Kennedy came to him with their initial idea for Andor, just to say like, hey, you helped with Rogue One. Like, what do you think of this concept? And it was basically, the concept was it was a K2 and Cassian show. And he was like, yeah, but what if you did something insane?
He goes, that's fine, but what if you did something way better than that, actually?
And he used the word insane. He's like, you could do something more insane. And then they came back to him and was like, here you go. Can you do insane? And he's like, sure. And this is what we got. So it's been such a joy. And I know we do this ranking for fun. It's very silly. I think of it more as like everything is in the S tier, and it's like, where are we positioning it in the S tier?
Right,
You know?
right.
In like the
Imagine us doing
the
like
F to S
the video.
chart.
Imagine us doing like the tier ranking list, and we're like, okay, so I'm putting this one in the S tier. This one's a really good one, and then we pull the next one. We're like, well, I think this one's gonna go behind the one we just did, but I'm still putting it in the S tier. Like it would be like the comedy of that video would be really good. Maybe we should become a video podcast. I don't know.
I mean, it's maybe we can hire Tony Gilroy to rewrite our whole podcast and make it good.
We can't afford Tony Gilroy.
Well, that's why you should join our Patreon at patreon.com/Friends of the Force, where tiers start at just $1. And as we mentioned up front, you will get our fun little bonus episode about our trip to San Francisco, which we'll be recording at some point in the next week here. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that was a really good transition because I typically do that part. But I would like to thank our patrons individually. So thank you, Abigail, Amy, Andy, Ben, Brian, Cheryl, Clay, Emma, David, Jennifer, Josephine, Jules, Katie, Knights of Ren, Krista, Ian, Logan, Lucy, Lindsay, Matthew, Nicole, Rob, Bruce, Santa, Skytalker, Soulcatcher, Travis, Viglyph. Thank you all so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who has joined us on any and all of our Andor conversations. We just really love this show, obviously. And we hope you love it as much as we do. And even if we don't agree on all of the details about what we love and don't love, or even disagree on our ranking, I'm glad we can have these conversations together. Yeah, what a great time to enjoy Star Wars. So I'm glad we're all here doing that.
Absolutely. And we hope you continue to be with us as Rebellions are built on hope. So make sure you're following us on all of our socials and subscribe to our podcast feed, wherever you listen. I'd like to say that we have friends everywhere. And all of you are our friends of the Force. So thank you for listening on this journey. And it was the friends we made along the way. Truly, Sarah. It really was.
Definitely. So stay hydrated, stay healthy, drink water. That goes into the stay hydrated thing, but make sure you're staying hydrated with water. That's all. Water
is very important, Sarah. But thank you all once again. We will see you next week when we power rank every minute of Rogue One. And until then... Sarah's laughing because I almost got her. I didn't
sign up for this.
We'll see you next time, everybody. May the Force be with you always.
Bye.